Yeah. See, those who have access to Google Classroom, I have actually attached, I have posted a new link now, something like calculus recap. I have spoken to Murli sir. So I will be doing some revision of calculus that has been already taught. Okay. So the Jamboard that I will be using for that is in this link. Okay. So if you click on that, you will have a link to the Jamboard. So yeah, so that's for your information. Kaushik Babu, is that the code for? Almost got it by heart, man. Karthik, what is the test portions for this week? Karthik, are you listening properly in the class, Karthik? I wrote on the board yesterday. I spoke it out yesterday. That board is accessible to you. I have given the link to the board. Huh? Despite all this, you still ask for test portions for this week. Have you submitted your homeworks, Karthik? Were you absent yesterday, Karthik? Yesterday's class? Okay, fine. Sri Raghavendra, sir, I have installed Jamboard. You don't have to install anything for Jamboard. Jamboard is just a website link. Nothing to install. Kanish, will we be able to complete the chapter today, sir? Which chapter, Kanish? What chapter, Kanish? For others? Okay, for the last time, the portions for the Sunday test, upcoming Sunday test, are these 20 questions from two-dimensional motion, 5 questions from relative motion. Okay, I'll be erasing this today when the class starts. Okay, Manojit, sir, one question is bending. What bending? Pending. What question, ma? We'll be doing calculus class today. Yeah, calculus today. True. Should we post the homework in Google Classroom or at Learnity? Always Learnity. I already told you in Google Classroom, I will not be able to correct any homework or even review them. Post all your homeworks and everything on Learnity or your school website. Only those two. Okay. Google Classroom is only for me announcing things to you. That's all. Nothing else. Manoj, the brakes of train which are 30 meters per second. Okay. Oh, Manoj. Okay, Manoj, is that the question for which I was supposed to paste a solution. I told you. I think I forgot it. Okay, I'll do it today. Okay, so don't worry. I mean, I'll do it today. Like I'll post a solution on the Google class. I mean, the Jamboard. Okay. Yeah, I might have forgotten. Is kinematics also the homework? Yeah, any homework that we have announced till now. Sorry, just open Google Classroom. It is coming as unsupported file. Really? Really? Please check again. Deepthi KNMS, don't try to save the file. Okay. It's a link actually. Just click on the link. It will take you somewhere. That's all. I don't get to do my homework, post pictures. Oh yeah. You can post the pictures of what you have worked on. Oh, what? No. The homework that has been given, you finish the homework, take the pictures of that homework and post it on Learnity. I think that's how it works. Vijay Rubesh, is Seeker's book enough for Sunday exam? Yeah, more than enough. Pranav, submitted vectors, good. Manoj, no sir, is that not the question? Okay man, then I don't understand. Is it two trains moving on parallel tracks or something? Ashwin, yes. Apparently you can upload homework in image format, but on Learnity, not on Google Classroom. Deepthi KNMS, in Google Classroom, look for calculus, okay, classwork. In that, I have given the link. See, so many people have joined this Jamboard now. So many other students are able to join this Jamboard now. They are able to see the board. Please check again, Deepthi. File is opening well. Thank you, Manojit. Devadarsha. Sir, yes, sir, I can't understand the train question. I have to go to that Jamboard again back. Okay. The brakes are applied and then it accelerates again to get to some velocity. Oh, the 3 lambda wala, that one? Is that the question that you and Manojit were talking about, Devadarsha? 3 lambda, etc. Is that the question? Okay, in that case, I'll solve that also. I'll post it there. Don't worry. Giri Prakash, I get the Jamboard is unsupported file, sir. You're just supposed to open it. Are you using an iPhone or iPad or something? I don't know if it works on iOS or iPad OS. Okay. Oh, try to open it in Safari. Don't try to download it. Yeah. So that's the problem. Giri Prakash and Deepthi, open it. I mean, copy the link. Okay, in Google Classroom. Instead of clicking on it, try to do copy link. I don't know how it works in iPad OS. Copy the link and post it on browser. Okay, use the browser to go to that link. Don't try to download. Please try and tell me, Giri Prakash, if it works. Sailesh says it works on iPhone, sir. Okay, iPhone OS and iPad OS are different. So maybe there's a difference. How many homeworks are given till now? As I was aware about homeworks being posted in Learnity only by yesterday. There were some homeworks before. I think 4 times or 5 times we have given homework. Good number of problems, Vidushan. A mixture of both, difficult, easy, all such questions. Giri Prakash, are we able to open the link? Deepthi? Not yet? Oh, okay. Fine. Sorry. Thank you, Surya Narayan. Giri Prakash, Deepthi, etc. Others. Apparently, on Jamboard, not everybody can join at a time. It only allows for a maximum of 25 participants. Currently, it only allows for a maximum of 25 participants and 20 frames, I think. So yeah, don't worry. You can always look at the Jamboard later at home. So if all of us join the Jamboard at the same time, it will be a problem apparently. Okay. Chalo. Yeah, sorry about that. For now, sorry about that. This technology is actually costly. Jamboard technology is actually very expensive. We will do. So are all of us here? 183? Yeah, I think fairly good number of people are there. I'm closing the chat. We'll start the class. Okay. Kiran Raj, I don't think I can. This is a free software. There is a limit on how many people can join. You can look at the link later. You can check the link after the class. I mean, when not many people have joined the Jamboard, then you can browse it. Okay. Okay, I'm closing the chat. Okay, good afternoon, students again. So if you can see the board, I hope I am audible. If you can see the board, these are the portions for the upcoming Sunday test on 26th July 2020. There will be 25 questions in total, 20 of them from two-dimensional motion, 5 of them from relative motion. Okay, this relative motion will include all boat problems, the train problem, umbrella problem, such questions will also be included in that. Two-dimensional motion will mostly contain questions. The easy questions will be from directly applying the formulae. So try to remember the formulae for maximum height, time of flight, time of ascent, range, etc. for an oblique projectile. Also remember the formulae for range of a horizontal projectile, the time taken for the horizontal projectile to hit the ground. Those formulae you try to remember. Okay, we have everything on the Jamboard. We highlighted those formulae to remember. Okay. Also try to see or remember the equation of motion, equation of trajectory of a projectile. That will actually solve a lot of problems very, very easily. So yeah, so try to do that. So out of these 20 questions, I will make at least 15 easy to solve. But there will be 5 which will be tricky, okay? Which will be tough or tricky, whatever you may call it. So there will be such 5 questions. Okay, projection on inclined planes is also included. Projection on inclined planes is also included. Okay, no question from circular motion. You will find circular motion as a part of motion in 2 dimensions in your textbook. Okay, circular motion is actually a part of motion in 2 dimensions in your NCERT textbook. But no question will come from circular motion. We have not yet done it. We will do circular motion in the chapter Newton's laws of motion or forces. That chapter we will do. Okay. Karthik Balaji, so please tell sir what are the deleted portions. Karthik Balaji, listen to one thing very clearly. There are certain deleted portions as instructed by the CBSE, but we will be teaching all topics required for JEE mains or JEE advanced. Okay, do not consider this as an NCERT tuition class. This will not be NCERT tuition class, surely. We will be teaching all topics that are required for JEE mains and JEE advanced. Please understand. Okay, good. Thank you. Won't there be questions for units and measurements, sir? Devdarsha, no. How to access the Jamboard? Currently, Sudarshan, you cannot access because many people are already here. There will be one more week of kinematics exam. Don't worry. There will be one more week of kinematics test. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So are we clear with the questions? I'm going to erase this. I hope everybody saw this. I'm going to erase this now. Do we want to complete those assignments in A4? Tejashwini, I just want to look at the pictures of what you have done, what you have done about the homework. That's all. I don't care if you do it on A4 or in a nice notebook. I would suggest you do homeworks on a particular notebook. Okay. You try to have a separate notebook for physics homework. and try to do all homework in that particular notebook only. Put a date neatly and write the homework. I don't care about the order in which you do the homework. I don't care about the neatness of the homework. Okay. I don't care about the margin, top margin, left margin, etc. However, I want to see if if I look at your homework, I want to see which is first question, which is second question. That's all. That is all the eligibility that I'm looking for. Okay. So if you have to do, I mean, there is no rule for doing homework on A4 or something. I would rather have you guys do your homework in a nice notebook and then take pictures of those pages and upload it on Learnity or your school website, whichever has been told to you. Great. Homework is posted on Learnity, as I am told. I have never checked the Learnity website, but apparently homework has been posted on Learnity regularly. They are also posting these videos of class sessions on Learnity regularly. Raghavan Shanmugam, you were on leave yesterday. Okay, please check the video when it is uploaded. Okay, date is 20 July. I think they will upload a video with that date, 20 July 2020. Check out that video. That's your class for you. Okay. Okay, so these are the questions. I'm going to clear the frame now. Take a screenshot if you want. This will not be available in the Jamboard also later. I'm clearing the frame now in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and gone. Okay, so we will learn a recap or a revision on calculus that you have already learned, and we will also try to develop from what you have learned already. Okay, calculus is that branch of physics that deals with, okay, just a second, that deals with data analytics. Data analytics as in you want to check out the rate of change of a certain quantity, rate of change of a certain quantity with respect to another one. For such purposes, you will use calculus. Or if you want to check out the cumulative effect, on a system because of a change in its components. For such purposes, you will use calculus. Okay. So, I mean, that's basically the definition of calculus, of course, but under calculus, ideally speaking, you would learn set theory first. Okay, you will basically learn set theory first. In set theory, you know the definition, usual definitions of sets and all that, particularly intersection, union, etc. of sets. In set theory, you will also learn Cartesian product of sets. Okay, after set theory, you will look at relations and functions. I mean, the order on which you learn calculus should be ideally this in mathematics. We will not be doing it in our class. This is not a math class, this is a physics class. We'll do it in a very small abridged form. Okay, relations and functions. You will, in this, you will learn relation as a subset of Cartesian product. As a subset of Cartesian product of sets. You will learn functions, of course. Functions as specific or special relations. All relations need not be functions, but all functions are actually relations. Okay, and then you will learn about terms like domain of a function, range of a function, etc. After functions, you will come across something called limits. There's a concept called limit. Okay, in function you have something called function value. Function value means what? A function takes an input, gives an output. As simple as that. If f of x is a function, its purpose is to take an input and give an output. It does some process on the input and gives out an output. What is its input? X. Okay, x is the argument of the function. It is a variable in the function. If you assign a value to that function or to the variable x, the function accepts that value. I mean, depending on what function it is, it will accept that value and it does some process on the value on that value and gives an output. Okay, f of x is equal to, if you say x square, what is this function called? It's called the square function. What does it do? It takes x as an input and gives x square as an output. So f of 2 will be 2 square, which is equal to 4. So 2 is your input, 4 is your output. Okay, set of all possible inputs. Set of all possible inputs that you can give to the function is what is called as domain. Set of all possible inputs that you can substitute in this place of x in a function is what is called as domain of the function. Okay, say for example, f of x is equal to x square. In place of x, whatever value you can put, that's called an input, right? What all values can you put? You can substitute any real number in place of x. So f of x, the domain of the function f of x is equal to x square is a set of all real numbers. It can take all real numbers or any real number as an input. Okay, what will be the output? For every real number, there exists an output here, x square. However, if you input negative values in x, this function f of x is equal to x square is only going to output positive values as output. However, if you substitute 0, it will give you an output as 0. Is it not? Which means the output is going to be non-negative real numbers in this case, example. Okay, set of all outputs, set of all outcomes or outputs of a function is what is called as range. Okay, so I'm just recapping, revisiting this concept. Function has been already taught to you, so please check out that video. Murli sir has already taught to you. So domain and range of function are these. Okay, function value. What is function value? If f of x is equal to x square is the function, then at x is equal to 2, function value is equal to what? Function value is equal to, you substitute the value of x in the function, say 2 square, and you get the value called 4. This 4 is called as function value. This 4 is called as function value. If x is input, f of x is the output. That f of x or f of 2, f of 3, whatever, that is called the function value. Okay. However, some functions do not accept all possible inputs. Say, for example, f of x, or maybe I'll change the name. Okay. Say, for example, g of x. There is another function, let us say g of x. And let us say g of x is a function 1 by x minus 1. Okay. In this function, what inputs can you give to the function 1 by x minus 1? What inputs can you give to the value for x? You can give any real number for x except 1. You cannot substitute 1 here because the function will not understand. The denominator becomes 0. Division by 0 is meaningless. When the numerator is not 0 and denominator is 0, that value is called infinite. It is not a definite value at all. The function does not understand it. This function has a domain. This function has domain. Domain of g of x is what? All real numbers except that one particular value, 1. Okay. If it is 1 by x minus 2, then the domain of the g of x function is all real numbers except that one value, 2. That is called domain. That's how you calculate or find domain. Okay. So for g of x, there is no function value at x is equal to 2. At x is equal to 2, there is no function value for g of x. Understand or not? So there are some functions for which the function value does not exist at some points. In such a case, okay, not just this function, there are other functions. In such cases, when a function value is quite difficult to calculate or almost not possible to calculate, there is something called a limiting value that you can calculate. Okay, if not exact value of the function, you can find a predicted value of function. Say, for example, there is a function h of x. Okay, h of x is equal to, let us say, x square minus 4 by x minus 2, or maybe I am continuously using this. Okay, maybe x square minus 25 divided by x minus 5. Okay, let us say for h of x is a function, which is written as x square minus 25 divided by x minus 5. That is a function. Now this function cannot accept x is equal to 5 as an input because the denominator will become 0. So domain of h of x is going to be all real numbers except that one single value 5. You cannot take 5 as an input. So no function value exists. No function value exists for h of x. At what point? At x is equal to 5. However, limiting value may exist. Again, that also we are saying may exist only, may or may not exist. Okay, the limiting value may exist. How do I calculate the limiting value? Say for example, this is an interval of x. Okay, this is the position of x is equal to 5. This is any point less than 5 and this is any point more than 5. Any point less than 5 can be written as x is equal to 5 minus delta, some random value delta. Okay, some random positive value delta. Any point that is above x or beyond x can be written as x is equal to 5 plus delta. Okay, delta is a very, very small positive value. Understood or not? Now this interval here, 5 minus delta to 5 plus delta, is called as neighborhood of x is equal to 5. Okay, that interval 5 minus delta comma 5 plus delta. This interval is called as neighborhood of x is equal to 5. Okay, at x is equal to 5, we are not able to find the function value for h of x. So we will try to observe how the function behaves in the neighborhood of 5, and looking at that behavior, we will try to predict the limiting value of h of x at x is equal to 5. That is what we will do. So what can I do here? Say for example, I will take x is equal to 4.99. I will also take x is equal to 5.01. Those two are probably in the neighborhood of x is equal to 5. Is it not? Depends on how big a neighborhood you want. These two values are probably in the neighborhood of x is equal to 5. At x is equal to 4.99, what will happen to the function? H of x is equal to x square minus 25 by x minus 5. But then this numerator here, x square minus 25 looks like x square minus 5 square. 25 is nothing but 5 square. So the numerator looks like a square minus b square. So it can be resolved into two factors, x plus 5 into x minus 5, and therefore already there is an x minus 5 in the denominator. Okay, now at x is equal to 4.99. Okay, at x is equal to 4.99, x minus 5 is not 0, so I can substitute x value. At x is equal to 4.99, x minus 5 is not 0. I can substitute this x value here. Okay, so this is not 0, this is also not 0, then I can cancel them. Okay, can I substitute x is equal to 5? Can I substitute x is equal to 5 in this function? I cannot, because it will become 0 by 0. Understood or not? If I substitute x is equal to 5 in this, it becomes 0 by 0. I cannot cancel 0 by 0. I cannot cancel x minus 5 by x minus 5 when x is equal to 5. You cannot cancel out zeros. Cancelling out 0 is like division by 0. That has no meaning at all. Okay. So at x is equal to 4.99, I can cancel these two. Remaining h of x becomes simply x plus 5. And x is equal to how much? 4.99 only, which means h of x is equal to 9.99. At x is equal to 5.01, h of x becomes similarly 10.01. Okay, look at this behavior. At x is equal to 4.99, h of x is becoming 9.99. At x is equal to 5.01, h of x becomes 0.01. Okay, you try to come closer to x is equal to 5. You try to come closer to x is equal to 5 from this side or from this side. You can say 4.99, h of x equal to 9.99. You take x is equal to 4.999, then h of x will become 9.999. Similarly, so as and when you come closer to x is equal to 5, the function h of x tends to get closer to 10 from this side on or from the other side also. Is it not? So basically you can predict that the function tends to become, the function h of x tends to become equal to 10, value 10 tends to become, this is the spelling. The function h of x tends to become the value 10 when the value of x tends to become 5. Okay, when x becomes 5, the function is not defined. Okay, when the value of x reaches 5, the function is not defined. But I can predict the value of h of x as x tends to 5. We know that h of x tends to 10. That value is called limiting value. Understood or not? The value to which a function tends to, as x tends to a certain value, is what is called as limiting value of the function at the value of x. Understood or not? Limiting value means. So basically, I will do like this. Limit x tends to 2 of x square minus 3x. How do I do this? See, if the function is defined at x is equal to 2, then there is no problem for you at all. Limiting value and function value will be same. Okay, limiting value is same as function value if the input is within the domain. Okay, if the input is an acceptable value for the function, then there is no problem at all for the output. Okay, limiting value will be same as function value. Okay, what value will you predict for a function if the function is going to accept the input you give anyway? Okay, so you don't have to predict anything. You can just substitute that input and process the function on the input and get the output actually. Okay, so what will be here? Will 2 be accepted? Let us check. So let us try to substitute 2 here. 2 square minus 3 into 2. So there was no problem at all. No, you can directly substitute, which is basically 4 minus 6, which is equal to minus 2. This minus 2 is called, limiting value of x square minus 3x as x tends to 2. You write it as x tends to 2. You read it as x tends to 2. You write it like x arrow mark 2. Understood or not? But minus 2 actually belongs to domain of x square minus 3x. So function value of x square minus 3x at x is equal to 2 is equal to minus 2. Sorry. 2 belongs to domain of x square minus 3x. So function value of x square minus 3x at x equal to 2, this is x equal to 2. Both are same, okay, is equal to minus 2. So here function value and the limiting value are being the same. That is when the input that you give, input here is 2, x is equal to 2. That input if you give, that input if it belongs to the domain of the function, that is the thing. You can directly substitute. Okay. Now there are certain other things like this. There are other problems like this. Limit x tends to say 3 and you say x square minus 9 divided by x minus 3 is equal to what? If f of x is equal to x square minus 9 divided by x minus 3, domain of the function is, domain of f of x is any real value except those values at which the denominator becomes 0. The denominator of the function is x minus 3. The denominator of the function becomes 0 at x is equal to 3. So except x is equal to 3, the function will accept every other value. It will accept every other value, which means no function value exists for x square minus 9 by x minus 3 at x is equal to 3. Okay. However, when you substitute here, when you directly substitute here, that's what will happen. You will get 0, I mean something by 0. You will get 0 in the denominator when you directly substitute. So instead of doing that, we'll say limit x tends to 3 I will try to resolve the numerator into two factors, x plus 3 into x minus 3 divided by x minus 3. Now, since it says x tends to 3, we are only trying to find the limiting value, not the function value. Okay. Since it says x tends to 3, what does it mean by saying x tends to 3? X tends to 3 means x is trying to become 3 from either side, from being less than 3 or from being more than 3. Okay, if this is x is equal to 3, x tends to 3 means either x is here or x is here. This is written as x tends to 3 minus, this is written as x tends to 3 plus. Understood or not? This is called, this is when you say x tends to 3 minus, it means the value of x is little less than 3, not minus 3. X is little less than 3. When you say x tends to 3 plus, it means x value is a little more than x is equal to 3. If I simply say x tends to 3, this means x is very close to 3. Could be more than 3 or could be less than 3. Okay. A little more than 3 or little less than 3. This single thing can mean both of them. Okay, this particular thing is called x tends to 3 plus. This particular thing is written as x tends to 3 minus. So x tends to 3 means this or this, both. Could be either. Okay. So now, limit x tends to 3. What does this mean here? This means that x is very, very close to 3, but x is actually not equal to 3. Because x is not equal to 3, I can cancel out these two and say I rewrite the function as limit x tends to 3 of x plus 3. Now, can x plus 3 contain x equal to 3 as input? If f of x is equal to, this is not f of x now, like say g of x. If g of x is equal to x plus 3, domain of that function x plus 3 is? Domain of g of x is all real numbers. In x plus 3 function, you can substitute any input. Any real number as an input, it will accept any input actually. Okay. G of x, if I say g of x is x plus 3, it will take any value, any real value for x as an input. So its domain is R. So can you substitute 3 in this? Yes, absolutely. No problem at all. There is no denominator to become 0 here. So it will become what? 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. This 6 is called limiting value or limit of x square minus 9 by x minus 3 as x tends to 3. Understood? Understood or not? What is the symbol above? X tends to 3 minus means x equals a value which is little less than 3. Understood? X tends to 3 plus means x equals a value that is a little more than 3. Understood or not? X tends to 3 minus means this. X tends to 3 plus means this. X tends to 3 means x is close to 3. Okay. We don't know less than or more. We don't know that. Could be either. Understood or not? In other terms, if you have to say, in other terms, you say x tends to 3 minus means x belongs to 3 minus delta comma 3 interval. X tends to 3 plus means x belongs to 3 comma 3 plus delta. Okay. Anyway, this is all a little more hardcore mathematics. So your mathematics teacher will teach this when they teach you limits. But I'm just trying to help you with the understanding of limits concept. Okay. See, I'll tell you what. Whenever they give you a value, say for example, limit x tends to 4, x cube minus 64 divided by x square minus 16. Okay, so then let us say there is a question like this. Let us say there is a question in limits like this. How to calculate the limiting value? Always first substitute. First substitute directly. Okay, and check what is happening here. X cube minus 64 divided by x square minus 16 at x is equal to 4 will be what? Will be 4 cube minus 64 divided by 4 square minus 16, which is equal to 64 minus 64 divided by 16 minus 16, which is equal to 0 by 0. Okay, so we find a division by 0 here. Okay, so you cannot do that. So that is not the limiting value. That's not how you find the limiting value there. First, always substitute like this. Okay, if it doesn't work out, if it does not give you any particular definite value, if it does not give you a definite value or a specific infinity, then you perform resolution into like factors. Limit extends to 4 of. Try to resolve the numerator and denominator and or numerator and denominator, like numerator or denominator into factors. I can write x cube minus 4 cube divided by x square minus 4 square, is it not? I can rewrite this as limit extends to 4 of x minus 4 into x square plus 4x plus 16 divided by x minus 4 into x plus 4. We can rewrite that function, those two terms as such. We can resolve them into factors like that. Okay, don't ask me how. This is a cube minus b cube. A cube minus b cube is a minus b into a square plus ab plus b square. Similarly, a square minus b square is a minus b into a plus b. Understood? Now, once you have done that, now you try to look at limiting value. X tends to 4. Again, do not directly substitute. Do not directly substitute 4 in x. Okay, that we already did. That we already tried. Okay, the numerator and the denominator both became zeros there. So we will try to cancel out that factor which makes numerator and denominator both as zeros, and then rewrite the function limit extends to 4 of x square plus 4x plus 16 divided by x plus 4. Okay, now we are trying to find a limiting value of a different function. It sounds like the same function. Okay, x cube minus 64 by x square minus 16, x square plus 4x plus 16 by x plus 4 is not equal to, these two functions are not same. These two functions are not same. They are not the same functions. Try to understand. Why are they not same functions? They are not same functions because domain of this function is all real numbers except minus 4 and plus 4, because the denominator becomes 0 at either minus 4 or plus 4. Am I right or not? The denominator here, x square minus 16, becomes 0 at x is equal to minus 4 as well as plus 4. So except those two values, it will accept every other real number as an input. So its domain is r minus these two values. What about the other one? What about the domain of this function? Domain of this function is all real numbers except, where does the denominator become 0? X is equal to minus 4. So clearly those two functions are not same because their domains are different. This function is not same as this function because their domains are different here. Understood or not? It sounds like, sir, we did nothing, we just cancelled x minus 4. When you cancel x minus 4, you created a chance for x is equal to 4 being an input. Okay, so that's why you have changed the function there. Anyway, so to find the limiting value of this function, see, it accepts x equal to 4 because its domain does not accept minus 4 only. So substitute x equal to 4 there. 4 square plus 4 into 4 plus 16 divided by 4 plus 4, which is equal to 16 plus 16 plus 16, is it not? So that's basically 48 by 8, which is equal to 6. That is the limiting value of the function. That is how you calculate the limit of the given function. So the answer here is equal to 6. Understood? It means there is an error in mathematics. Never say like that. Never say like that. There is no error in mathematics. There is a lot of error in science. There is a lot of error in how we think. Okay? Science is basically how we think. Maths is not that. Maths is a properly defined subject. Science is not. There is a lot of difference between those two. Okay. What is the significance of that value? Means at x is equal to 4, okay, at x is equal to 4, x cube minus 64 by x square minus 16 is not defined. Okay, so its value cannot be found at x is equal to 4. But we just predicted that x cube minus 64 by x square minus 16 tends to become 6 as x tends to become 4. Understood or not? Does that last statement make sense or not? Does that last sentence, does it make sense or not? What is use of this prediction? Say, for example, there is stock exchange, okay, and there is a share price of a particular company, and the share price of the company keeps fluctuating, keeps changing every day, every moment it keeps changing. You want to predict where it is going to go. You want to predict its behavior at a certain time instant. You can look at the past influences. You can try to put a graph. When you have a graph in your hand, you can try to do something called curve fitting. There is a process called curve fitting in mathematics. What does curve fitting do? You try to plot a lot of points on a graph, and using those plot points, using the graph, you try to predict the equation of the function. When you have the equation of the function, using that equation, you can predict its behavior at a later instant in time. Understood or not? So that you can do. Anyway, so this is about limits, and after limits, under calculus, after limits, under calculus, we come across this beautiful topic called differentiation. This topic called differentiation. Basically, differentiation is created to study the rate of change of a quantity with respect to a change in another quantity. Okay. After that, we will talk about integration also, but that we will do later. For now, we will stick to differentiation only. Okay, what is it? What does this mean? Rate of change of a quantity with respect to a change in another quantity. Say, for example, y is a quantity and x is another quantity, and so I will say y is equal to f of x. What does this mean? X is a variable, y is a variable that depends on how x value varies. If I change the value of x, depending on this definition of function, the value of y also keeps changing. Say, for example, if I say y is equal to 3x square plus 4, then at x is equal to 1, y is equal to 7. At x is equal to 2, y is equal to 16, is it not? At x is equal to 7, y is equal to 151, I hope. 171 now, I don't know. 49 threes, 141 now. 49 threes is how much? 147 plus 4 is 151. That's right only. Okay, fine. Anyway, so as I keep changing the value of x, increase or decrease, whatever, as I keep changing the value of x, at x is equal to minus 3, y is equal to 31. As I keep changing the value of x, the value of y also keeps changing, is it not? In this case, x is what is called as independent variable. This is what is called as independent variable, and y is called as dependent variable. Y is called as dependent variable. What is an independent variable? Something whose value can be changed according to your wish. Okay. You don't see when you want to change the value of x, you don't have to change something else. You can just assign a value for x. What is a dependent variable? This is a variable whose value changes in accordance with a change in another value. Okay. So because I have defined y is equal to 3x square plus 4, to change the value of y, I have to assign a different value for x. I made y as a function, as a variable that is dependent on the value of x. So these are the two variables, types of variables, dependent variable and independent variable. Whenever you draw a graph, it is a standard convention that independent variable is always plotted on x-axis and dependent variable is always plotted on y-axis. This is a convention. Okay, sir, why can't I do the other way around? Can I plot dependent variable on x-axis and independent variable on y-axis? Nothing wrong, but this is a convention that we have agreed to follow. So if you use a different convention, just that other people will not be able to understand. Okay, can you write the definition? Definition of what? Yeah, these are technical. These are not technical definitions, but don't worry. I'm just making up definitions. I'm giving my own sentences. Okay, from what I understand. So read from books. You will understand those things also. Okay, x is an independent variable means I can change the value of x. Say for example, you have an Ohm's law circuit. Okay, you have an Ohm's law circuit. Okay, this is the Ohm's law circuit. Voltmeter is connected across this cell combination, and then ammeter is connected in series with the resistor there. Okay, V and R. You know that I is equal to V by R by Ohm's law. So voltmeter measures the value of V and ammeter measures the value of I, and from there you can actually calculate the value of resistance. R is equal to V by I. Is it not? Now in this, two things are changing. When you try to draw the plot here, there will be two variables in this experiment. One variable is V and I. These are the two variables. V and I are the two variables in this function, in this experiment. Which of these two variables, V and I, do you think is an independent variable? Tell me. Which of these two variables, V and I, is the independent variable? Voltage, correct. See, you are trying to adjust the value of current in the circuit by adjusting the voltage given in the supply. Okay, so you supply V and you draw I. That is what you do in Ohm's law. That is what you do in current electricity. Okay, you supply voltage, you supply V in accordance with what resistance is there in the circuit. You will be able to draw some I. I is current. Okay, so V and I are the variables, and V is the independent variable. I is the dependent variable. Understood or not? So when you draw a graph for Ohm's law, what must be plotted on x-axis? What must be plotted on x-axis? On x-axis, the independent variable must be plotted. So on x-axis, it must be V. On y-axis, it must be I. This is the correct way to do. Understood or not? Ohm's law, I think in 10th standard textbook also you studied this only. V on y-axis and I on x-axis. This is wrong actually. That would be wrong. You can still do this. Okay, you can draw this graph also, but that is not the mathematical way of drawing graphs, as we all people in the world have agreed. Okay, all mathematicians, all scientists agreed to plot independent variable on x-axis and dependent variable on y-axis. That's how you are supposed to draw it. Understood? So that is what it is. Anyway, we will discuss more on graphs, etc., derivatives, etc. tomorrow. Okay. Before that, we will look at the basics of coordinate geometry. Something that you already know. I just recall the formulae of coordinate geometry. Okay. In a two-dimensional coordinate system, any point can be plotted with two coordinates, x, y. X is called abscissa, y is called ordinate. x coordinate and y coordinate, they are called abscissa and ordinate of a function, of a point, sorry. Okay. So if I drop perpendiculars from that point to x-axis and y-axis maybe, the distance of the point from origin, okay, distance of point from origin measured along x-axis is called x coordinate. Distance of the point from the origin measured along y-axis is what is called as y coordinate. That is the definition of those things. Okay. Then distance OP is written as root of x square plus y square. That is basically the magnitude of OP bar, which is magnitude of xi cap plus yj cap. You already know this, right? If there exists another point, say Q, if there is a point P, x1 comma y1, and there is a point Q, which is x2 comma y2, the length of the line joining them, PQ, is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. Okay, this is called distance formula. You might have come across this in 10th standard or 9th standard. This is called as distance formula. You could also say OP bar equal to x1 I cap plus y1 j cap. OQ bar is equal to x2 I cap plus y2 j cap. Using these two, we can write what is PQ bar. PQ bar is equal to OQ bar minus OP bar, which is equal to x2 minus x1 times I cap plus y2 minus y1 times j cap. This is PQ bar. So clearly PQ is nothing but magnitude of PQ bar, which is equal to magnitude of that vector is root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square, the root. So that is one way of deriving distance formula. Okay, there is also something called slope of a line segment. This point is P, x1 comma y1, and say there's another point called Q, which is x2 comma y2. Then slope of line PQ. Slope is denoted by small letter m. Slope of the line PQ is written as change in y divided by change in x. They also call it as rise by run. Change in y by change in x, or that is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. We already actually spoke about this in kinematic graphs. Remember, slope means what? Karke, we already spoke. So from there, slope of the line PQ is written as y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. Ashpati asks, sir, how to find which is independent variable and which is dependent variable? If they say y square equal to 4ax, x is independent, y is dependent. Okay. If they say x is equal to y square by 4a, this means y is independent, x is dependent. I hope this clears things. Okay. You may say, sir, both these look same only. No. Y square equal to 4ax, x equal to y square by 4a. Both of them are same functions only. So graph for both of them will probably be the same. Yeah, probably be the same. Right? Any ordered pair that obeys this equation will also obey this equation. However, when they try to write the subject of the function or subject of the equation in terms of y is the dependent variable. Similarly, subject of the function here is x, so x is the dependent variable. Understood? So it depends on how we have called out an equation. That's all. Sir, we saw this on length of linear paths, sir. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so these are like some basics regarding calculus. Instead of before going into calculus or differentiation, these are some basics that we need to know. Which will be in x-axis, sir? I told you. Independent will be in x-axis. Dependent variable will be on y-axis. Will these things be taught in the school once again, sir? Your maths teacher will teach you in the relevant chapters. Okay. When these chapters appear in mathematics, they will be teaching you. Sir, why we recapping all this? Apparently, some people did not understand, or maybe some people joined late. So for them, what if the function is y equal to x? If the function is y equal to x, here y is dependent, x is independent. If the function is written as x equal to y, then x is dependent, y is independent. Okay. X is equal to y square by 4a. How should be the graph? We have not yet taught the graphs. I will be teaching you graph theory also. Again, basics only. So there I will teach. Okay. For now, do not worry about it. Okay. All right. See you guys. It's time. 4:30. See you. If I missed any solution for any particular question, please remind me on WhatsApp. I will do it. Okay. Yeah. So then we'll leave for the day. Bye, guys. Yeah. Thank you. I'll be ending this session for all of you.